It's nice to see you again in this video. So now I'm going to be showing you how we can install our mysql server in our Linux. So I have my Ubuntu server that is running in the VirtualBox. So let me just go on and log in. Then we try to install our server. So I wrote in the wrong credentials. I can go on and submit others. So once we are logged in, I can just go on and clear my screen. So you can just go on and press Ctrl L, or if I scroll down here, you see what we do have. Since I'm in the VirtualBox and I lack some drivers, that's why you see that I'm not running on a full screen. So to install our database, you are going to go on and say sudo apt install. Since we want to install mysql, you will say mysql dash server, or Mr. V dash server. So I'm going to put a space and add on a -y. So if I press enter, it may ask me the password. So when I go on and type in my password, our service is going to be installed. Now when you try to see here, they tell me that I already have this and it is to the newest version. So in case you do not have this installed, it may take 5 or 6 minutes depending on your internet connectivity. Now once it is done, you have your mysql installed. What do you need to do? So you need to go on and finalize with the installation. This is what you are going to type. So you go on and say mysql underscore secure underscore installation. So once you're done, press enter. Now you see here they ask us to type in the password for the root user. So here I'm going to just go on and type in my password, and they say that access is denied. Now when you try to see here, we are just a normal user called Greenit. So I can just go on and turn this to my sudo by just typing sudo bash. So after I've switched to a root user, then I can go on and proceed with our same command, which is mysql underscore secure underscore installation. Then submit that. Now do you see what they have brought us? They say remove anonymous users. We need to remove that. Just type Y for yes, press enter. So I'm going to scroll down a bit. Now here, disallow root login remotely. We need to also remove that, since let's say if you are administering a server, you need everything, let's say, to be accessed locally. So I'm going to provide a Y for yes, press enter. Now when you try to see here, they want us to remove the test database. I'm going to also proceed with a Y, press enter. Now here they say reload privilege tables. I'm going to also provide Y for yes, press enter, and all is done. Now here we've finished to configure our database and everything is set up. So we need to go on and set up our service. Perhaps we can also go on and create a user to our database and create a few database on our machine. So I can go on and clear up my terminal again. Now to start up our service, in case you are not a root user, you use sudo, but since the user that I'm using currently is root, I can just say systemctl start mysql. So if I press enter, I wrote wrong spelling, SQL. So if I press enter, now here seems like our service has been started up. But if I come and change this from start to status, we can't see if our service is running. Now when you try to see here, we do have our services active. Now in a situation whereby you are going to be hosting your web applications, you need the service to be started up automatically even if the server has gone down. So this is where you can just go on and say systemctl enable mysql. Now, since our server has been started up, we can go on and access our MySQL. So since I'm a root user, I can just go on and type MySQL and press enter. Now, when you try to see here, we are inside our MySQL. In case you want to create a database, let's say if you are going to be hosting a web application, this is what you can do. So you just go on and say create database, and let's say the database that you're going to be creating for it is for a WordPress website. So I can just say WordPress and with your semicolon and press enter. When you try to see our database has been created, and in case you want to see it, you will just go on and say show databases. So again, and with semicolon, press enter. You see that we are given our table and we can see our WordPress. But our main aim here is to go on and create up a user. Perhaps this is going to be a user for a developer who is going to be creating an application to our server. So how can we do that? So we can just go on and say create user. Then we need to go on and provide a user we want to create, but make sure you write that user in a single quote. So let's go on and call that user perhaps John. Then I want you to go on and close a single quote at, open up your single quote, then let's say localhost. This is going to be our server where our user will be created. So create a user John at localhost, and we need to go on and provide a password to this user. So you are going to say identified. So let me just write this in capital letters. Identified by. So you can go on and provide a password to John. Now let me just provide a weaker password. It's going to just be John. But if you are deploying any database outside there, make sure you use a strong password. But since this is locally, I can just use a weaker password. So I can just go on and end with my colon, press enter. So they say that the password does not meet the requirements. I can just come back and we provide a stronger password. So I'm going to remove that. So let's go on and say create user. Open up our code. We provide our John. Then say at. Open up localhost. So I made a mistake here. Localhost. Then we go to identified. Identified by our password. So the password I'm going to use a capital J. Then we go to John123 // then I can put a hashtag. So I can close that, terminate, run it. So again, we do have a problem with our password. Let me hope I didn't make any mistake here. So you have an error that corresponds with our MySQL server near identified. So let me look at create user John localhost. Yeah, yes, I wrote a wrong spelling. So if you try to look here, I missed a F. Identified. So this is how it should be. So press enter. Now when you try to see our user John has been created on our system, starts with a capital J123 / and with a hashtag. So I can just go on and exit outside of this, and I can also exit outside of my root. So I'm going to write this in small letters, exit outside of my root, and I'm going to go on and clear up my terminal. Now let's say if we want to control that user to get to the CLI, I can just go on and just write mysql -u. Then this is where we provide our username, that will be John, and we write our -p. So I wrote a wrong spelling for John, and -p. Then if we proceed, they will ask us to type in the password. So now we can go on and assign maybe this user to a certain database, and we can also flash these privileges. So what can we do? I can just go on and remove that. So here we just need to go back to our root. I can just say sudo, then write mysql, press enter. We are back to our database. Now I'm going to just say grant all on. So since we created a database called WordPress, I can just say WordPress, what are we granting? So we are granting this user the read, the update, delete, inserting data in our database, and so on. So this is what we are granting here. So on WordPress, which is a database, I'm going to provide a full stop, and inside that database I can just provide this star, which means all tables. So I can provide all access to all database and all tables, but here I'm just providing access only to a database of WordPress and all the tables inside that database. So I'm going to provide two. Let me just even write this in caps. Then where do we want to provide, or who do we want to grant access? And our user is John at our localhost. I'm messing up. At our localhost, I'm going to close this, terminate, and execute this. So now when you try to see there, that is done. So we can just go on and write our flash privileges. Oh, I wrote a wrong spelling. Privileges, and that is done. So I can just go on and exit outside of this. Then let's try to control our database. So it's going to be mysql -u. We provide a user that is going to be John, and we provide a -p. So if I press enter, it will go on and ask me the password for John. I'm going to go on and write in that password, press enter. So we are inside our database, and if I say show databases, we shall see that we shall have access to only one database, and that is WordPress. Don't mind about the information schema and performance schema. So in case you are interested to see more videos like this, don't forget to give a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video.